everyone. This is Professor Jeff Wilkerson at Luther College, talking about what to look for in the night sky. Once again, we do this weekly, and we are talking about the week of April 12th, 2021, this time around. But as is often the case, if you've been watching these, and I know you have, why would you not have been watching these every week? Probably again and again and again. That's what I do. Anyway, if you've been watching these things, then you know that we like to talk about things that aren't just for this week when we can, and will carry us for weeks and weeks and weeks into the future. And this is one of those cases. We're talking about the brightest stars of spring right now. We're going to talk about this region of the sky probably half a dozen times over the next couple of months as we keep returning to this part of the sky because it's so well placed for observing right now. And so we're going to mostly focus today on these brightest stars and some of the constellations of spring, although we'll make a reference. What this region of the sky is best known for, what it's really all about, is seeing external galaxies, galaxies outside the Milky Way. And we will return to talk about some of those galaxies in particular and help guide you to look for those galaxies if you want to. And there's a few beautiful globular star clusters in this region of the sky too. So we'll talk about all of those in upcoming weeks. But for right now, the three biggest, brightest stars of spring that mark spring, and really what we're talking about here is we're looking at probably for me right now, 9 or 10 o'clock is a great time to go outside in the evening and look at the stars of spring rising into the sky. And they're just going to get earlier, right? The stars rise 2 hours earlier every month. So a month from now, as we get into the early to middle part of May, we're talking about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. But that's just not when it's getting dark. So by that time, it's not really even dark enough to see these things. So really, we're talking about just an hour or so after dark right now. And as soon as it gets dark, a month from now, go outside and take a look at this region of the sky. Your three bright stars. We referred to some of these previously in the prior videos, and I'll give you a chance to go back and watch them right now. We'll just pause. Go watch those videos. Okay, good. Glad you could get that taken care of. So the three stars we're talking about: Regulus in the constellation of Leo, Spica in the constellation of Virgo, and Arcturus in the constellation of Boötes. And the way we find Arcturus, and we mentioned this before, the handle of the Big Dipper arcs. There's a curve in the handle of the Big Dipper. Mites are an Alcar, the visual double star that is right at the handle, the bend in the handle of the Big Dipper. And if you follow that curve, that's in a previous video. I think that's just last week's video. Go back and watch last week's video now. We'll wait again. Okay, now that everybody's caught up yet another time, you follow the curve and the handle of the Big Dipper, and we like to say it arcs to Arcturus in Boötes. And Boötes is decent stars to see. They're not super bright. They're not super faint. Relatively easy to see. They look something like a group of stars that look like a loop up this direction. To me, there's a couple of stars down here. To me, it looks like a trash bag, or the bag I carry when we go to take the dog out, tied with Arcturus at the knot right there. So we arc to Arcturus. We follow the curve of the handle, and then we spin on down to Spica. Spica and Arcturus are separated by 30 degrees, 32 degrees, I think it is. And so that's about 3 fist widths. You hold your hands out at arm's length, and you can measure about 3 fist widths from Arcturus down to Spica. Arcturus, of these bright stars of spring, Arcturus is the brightest. It's the most northerly, and it's the brightest. And Spica is pretty bright too. Regulus is actually the least bright, but they're all pretty bright stars, and they should pop out to you. So you spin on down here to Spica, and Spica is at the base of a sort of Y shape, or a martini glass, maybe is the way to think about that. So you got your martini glass right there, and Spica's down here in Virgo at the base, and then you turn and you follow that Y, that long part of the stem of the glass, up toward Regulus. And Regulus is a little further away from Spica than is Arcturus. So Regulus is going to be about 5 fist widths or so, maybe a little bit more across this direction. But you go 3 fist widths down, 5 fist widths up, and you come to Regulus. And Regulus is at the back end of Leo. There's what's called the sickle shape in Leo, Make that a little more to scale. Sickle shape looks like a backward question mark at the tail of Leo, and then you slide down here to the triangle that marks the head of Leo up this direction, and I've done very poorly with that, as I do. We all know that by now. I'm assuming people tune in to watch these just to see the quality of the drawing that I do. So in any event, there's your bright stars. 3 fist widths from Arcturus down to Spica. Make a hard turn, a sort of right triangle maybe, as I've drawn it right here. I never really paid a lot of attention how close that is to a right angle. To turn and go up to Regulus, 5 fist widths. Go past the martini glass, the mouth of the glass, past the triangle, and up into the backwards question mark. We ought to make that a little bit more to scale again. That is the tail of Leo back over this direction. And you've got your bright stars of spring. Now, one of the constellations I like to find just because it's fun, and it seems to pop for me, here at mid-northern latitudes, again, I don't know where you're observing, but here at mid-northern latitudes, right down pretty close to the southern horizon this time of year when I go out in the late evening, or really the early evening now, but just after dark for a few hours, is this constellation right here. That's a nice quadrilateral of stars, about 1.5 fists off to the west and south of Spica is Corvus the Crow. And so Corvus is down here, and those 4 stars, not much else, I can see that close to the horizon down that way. So those 4 stars tend to pop for me. So I get a nice little quick view of Corvus the Crow down in there. So I go Arcturus to Spica to Regulus to Corvus, down this direction. Now, this region of the sky right in here is just absolutely littered with external galaxies everywhere. If you take a small telescope and you start looking in this region that's between the triangle of Leo and the mouth of this martini glass down in here, there's just galaxies everywhere. And the reason for that is that it's the advantageous direction that we're looking from our galaxy to be able to see through the thin part of the galaxy. But I think we'll pick that up in a future video. We've done enough for today. So let's think about the wonders of the deep sky that we can observe in this region. External galaxies mostly, but there's actually a few really nice globular clusters, as we mentioned earlier, right up in here. But we'll save that for a week or 2 or 3 from now and talk about those galaxies. I think this is enough. Go out this week, learn Arcturus, Spica, Regulus, and Corvus, and you'll be in great shape. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week. I hope the skies are clear and the observing's good.